I don't have my watch. I can't tell what time it is.
I can.
Man.
I kept my watch on.
You got to give me, oh, there's the 6 o'clock. Is it 6 o'clock on your watch?
6 o'clock on the
All
computer
right.
and the watch.
Excellent. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone. My name's Forrest. I'm the director here at Rocky Mountain School of Photography. This is Andy Benson. He is our staff extrovert on the staff. He's the guy that you will get a hold of if you ever reach out to the school with any interest in professional intensive or summer intensive or a workshop or pretty much anything. He's our guy out there talking to students and telling them about the school, which is sweet. Tonight we want to talk a little bit about professional intensive, take some of your guys' questions if you have them. We also have some things that we've prepared to talk about if you guys don't have any questions. But this is just to serve as a little bit of a Q&A, a discussion time between us. I think Andy is going to be a great resource here because he's kind of fielded a lot of these questions in the past, and that's actually some of the stuff that we want to go through for you guys is some of the common questions that we've gotten from students in the past, or that Andy's gotten from students in the past.
Which is a lot.
So we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. Andy, do you want to say anything?
Other than I just saw someone who chimed in, Henry Gormley. How are you? I've been emailing him and spoke to his mother recently. So
excellent.
For me, I just started with the school last year. Forrest, Sarah, a lot of them have been around for a long time. Photography is one of my passions. And for those of you that are out there that have a passion for photography, the number one thing that pops into my head is don't wait. I'm 33 years old now. When I was 18, I wanted to come here and I didn't. I went to college, went on to do a career in sales. And then just last year, I had the opportunity to work here, get to pursue photography on the side, get to work for the school, and I talk photography with everybody who calls in all the time. I mean, I get to email, call, text message, Instagram, Facebook, any way you want to get a hold of me, get a hold of me. I'm the guy that they want you to speak to when you call in, so.
We like him. We keep him around.
we hope.
So that's awesome. Andy's great. He's with us, and he does a great, fantastic job. What I want to do is talk a little bit about professional intensive. As we're talking, Henry's already asked a question, which is awesome. If you guys want to write your questions over there, I'd like to get a good bank of questions before we get started, just so we have some stuff to talk about as we cruise through. We do have some things we can fill in with, but before we get into any of that, I want to talk a little bit about kind of where professional intensive came from. Because Sarah and I took over the school relatively recently. It was about a year and a few months ago where we started running the school together. And one of our big goals when doing that was to kind of make a change. RMSP had been running very similarly for quite a number of years since it really started. And through that time, our programs had stayed up to date, but they had never had a full redesign. They had never been looked at from the ground up and really brought to be as good as they possibly could be, and moreover, more targeted to today's marketplace. So what we kind of set out to do was look at what it is that a photographer needs to succeed in today's market and build a program around that. And we brought in a ton of professionals, people who were alums of our programs in the past, people who are industry professionals, people who work for places like Canon and Profoto and B&H. And we talked to these people and kind of see what they had to say about what the photo industry looked like today, what you need to do to be a pro. And we had those conversations, and from that, we built Professional Intensive. The 36-week time frame was purely just what needed to fit in that time. We need to cover things like video. We need to cover things like business and marketing, because unfortunately, you can't just take good pictures anymore. That's not enough to become a professional. You need to be a very skilled business person, an entrepreneur. You need to know how to market yourself. You need to be multimedia friendly, meaning you can do video and you can do audio and you can do things like that. Because when someone wants to hire you for a wedding, they're gonna ask, hey, can I get a video too? Or do you have an assistant that can shoot video during that time? And if you don't have those skills, you're not gonna get hired. And that's where PI came from, was to give the most immersive experience possible. And with that, do it in a time frame that's convenient for people. The really cool thing, and the reason it's intense, and you can attest to this because you've been through it, it's day in, day out photography. That's all you do for 36 weeks. So people are always a little shocked when I tell them that we take a 4-year college degree with all of the good stuff there is in there and pack it into 36 weeks. But when in college, you're going to class maybe 2-3 hours a day. In PI, you're in class 8-10 hours a day. It's a huge different thing. And in college, you're doing gen eds, you're doing other things. It's just photography here. It's just photography, business, video, media, art related stuff, which is awesome. So that's where it came from. That's kind of what we designed the program around.
Over 1,000 hours of photography and nothing but photography with over 20 different instructors, which is one of our, we're so excited about that because we have all these different instructors that are going to teach specific things from lighting to, we have a teacher here, her name is Marcy. When I went through one of our programs, she pulled the creative DNA out of me, and I was all of a sudden shooting different styles and shooting in different lights, and now just adore studio photography. I mean, all these different instructors have a way that you can connect with them and you can learn from them in all these different styles and how you want to shoot. You may come here and want to shoot, I'm an example, I'm just going to keep using myself. I started and I wanted to do landscape and wildlife photography.
How'd that go for you?
I don't remember the last time I took a picture of landscape. I like to shoot stars. I like to shoot really low light and negative space. On my Instagram, it's all just really low light stuff, concert stuff, bars, going around with all my friends and trying to find tunnels, things like that. It's all creative things, where landscape for me, there may be maybe hundreds and thousands of people out there that adore things like that. I found that I have a completely different style of what I want to shoot now.
And we didn't do that to him. He changed that on his own.
I found that out myself.
We don't like cripple your creative prowess. If you really want to be a landscape photographer, you can, but he just found out, and a lot of students do that.
And he's a terrible influence on me because I'm now buying all this new equipment that I do need.
You need it.
But it's a buy once, cry once type thing for myself sometimes. I like this. Henry keeps coming up with questions.
So Henry's asking, how many spots left are in PI? So we have a pretty large cap on professional intensive. We can handle a lot more students than we think we'll actually get. So Henry, I wouldn't worry about that. But for our sake, if you're thinking of signing up, get signed up soon. At least pay your deposit and get that deposit and the first payment made, because we are going to start kind of finalizing group lists and getting all the logistics back-end administration stuff set. So it's super helpful for us to get that stuff done soon. But you could sign up the day before and it would be fine. There would be room in the program, at least this year. Next year, it's looking like there's going to be...
We've already got lots of people that are...
There's a lot of people who are interested in next year. You can't apply yet for next year, but we're working on that. And again, I said day before. Sarah's holding up a sign right now telling me to say a week before.
Sign up no later than a week before the
Giving
program
us more
begins.
time is better. Will we let you? Yes, but does it make everyone in the office upstairs really happy with us letting you? Not really, so the earlier the better.
Henry, I also saw that you put something about drone videos. The person to talk to would be that guy. He had one, he sold it to someone who works here as well, and then he turns around, now he's got this thing that he pulls out of a box and it turns into it's like a transformer. He pulls it out of a box, it turns into this drone, he flies it up. I've taken lots of pictures of him doing it. Sarah and I have had lots of fun being the spotter, so has to look up and see this little dot way off in the sky while he gets this cool camera to look through, so drone photography is an absolute blast.
If you guys do have an interest in drone photography, any of you watching, personally, I want to kind of address what's going on with that. So first of all, we have a guy named Chase Gutman who is a exceptional drone photographer. I think he's really young. He's younger than me. He's making a full-time living being a drone photographer and a teacher, and he's actually doing a drone workshop during professional intensive. It's not for the PI students, it's for other students, but part of his contract with us is that he's going to do a lecture for the PI students on drone photography. So that's cool. But furthermore, if any of you guys have drone photography kind of aspirations, I will help you with those personally during the program. So if you want to learn drone photography, I'm a certified commercial drone pilot. I can help you get that certification, help you study for the test, help you fly. I'm totally willing to do that. So that's super cool too.
He's asked, go 3 up. When are you going to be finalizing group lists from Henry again? We can kind of answer at the same time. It's going to be a couple weeks before the program begins.
Weeks before the program. But again, that warning is nice just because with groups we try to, and this is kind of an interesting thing for those of you out there as well, it's pretty cool at RMSP, the age demographic differences that we get. So right now down in summer intensive, I think we're like 17, 16.
Our youngest student right now in our summer intensive course is 17 years old, and our oldest student is 75 years old.
Yeah.
And last year when I went through the program, the oldest student was 69. She taught me some things about my camera I didn't know, and I had a 17-year-old teaching me things about my camera I didn't know, and I'm right in the middle. I mean, everyone's all over the place. Everyone gets to have fun. Everyone has different styles, so you can have someone that wants to do one, and then you learn from that person. One of my absolute best friends who I made during the program also shoots Nikon like me. I learned so many things from him, and he learned a little bit from me, hopefully a lot from me, but that's always been...
I think you learned a lot.
Yeah, I learned a ton.
He learned a lot.
Yeah, I learned a ton.
But no, groups are super important to us, and what we try to do with those people, since there's such an age difference, and it won't be as big in PI, I think, because PI is more of a, at least it's looking like right now it's going to be more of a younger audience, at least for what we have. Obviously, anyone's welcome to come, but with our age demographic, we're going to put equal numbers of each age group in each group. So we don't put all the older people in one group and all the younger people in one group. We tried that one year. It was a disaster. We're never going to do it again. It's very, very bad. You didn't hear about that,
no,
did you?
I didn't. No, I'd love
bad.
to hear about it sometime.
It was pretty terrible. So we like to break it up evenly, so earlier the better is the long answer to that question. Allison, you are super interested in drone photography. That's awesome. I think drone photography is a big trending thing right now.
It's booming.
It's booming. If you are in it and you are wanting to start a business in drone photography, I can't think of a better way to do it with professional intensive, because the thing with that is people aren't going to just ask you for drone photography. It's going to be real estate agents wanting you to shoot the interiors of their houses and get aerial photos with a drone. It's going to be places who want to get, say it's an event you're shooting, some open air style event, think music festival or something like that. They're not just going to want aerial shots of the music festival. They're going to want you down there in the field doing the images as well. So you can't kind of just be a drone photographer, at least not full time. It's not the kind of thing where you can make a full-time living off of it, at least not easily. It's not as easy as some things. So if you're interested in drone photography, it's a great thing to add on to your photographic repertoire, to be able to add that as a skill set on. And PI will definitely, like I said, I invite any of you who want to learn more about it. Those of you who take PI, I will personally help you learn drones.
Something that popped in my head when you were talking about that kind of goes along the same lines with drone photography. With PI, and something Forrest said earlier on when he did the opening, is professional intensive is going to be really about learning everything about photography. And what I mean by that is that there will be a day, you mentioned it, there will be a day that if you go through this program, or if you tell someone, or you tell your friends, hey, I have a camera, I like to shoot photography, there will be a day someone will come up to you and say, hey, you are my best friend, we've known each other since childhood, will you please shoot my wedding? 3 weeks later, or 2 weeks later, someone could come to you and say, hey, and this has happened to a few people I know recently, they will say, hey, I am redesigning a website. I want to take a whole bunch of photos of the interior of my business. Will you help me do that? Well, that's commercial photography. Weddings are retail photography, meaning if you can know how to do both, that's the best part. Yes. I second shoot weddings for my girlfriend, who's a professional wedding and portrait photographer. And then some do a little bit commercial on the side. Using all of those together and then even combine it with drone photography, I mean, we want you to be, I think the #1 quote I got from someone who's in the summer intensive right now is, she said, I'm sick and tired of every time someone asks me to take their photo or to do a photo shoot for them, I'm sick of tired of saying, okay, I guess I'll do that, but I'm not that good. Yes. She wanted to be able to say, heck yes, I'll take your photo because I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yes.
That is the biggest part about it. So,
and I think like to follow up on that, that's a super great point, because with PI, it's not just being well-versed in every genre of photography, but also well-versed in marketing yourself and being out there.
Yep.
And that's the whole other half of it that I think far too many photography schools forget about. Sarah and I were actually watching a video earlier today, a guy on YouTube who made a video about kind of the death of photography schools and how schools that teach just photography are dying. And Sarah and I watched that, and at first it was a little bit depressing. It was kind of like, this is kind of a bummer. That someone has this thought that you don't need to go to photo school. But then he went on to say, hey, the era of photo schools is dying. But if you want to go to school, it's a great thing. You just need to be sure that the school you're going to teaches more than just photography. And as soon as we heard that, we were like, oh, well, sweet, that's PI, that's marketing, that's business, that's web design, that's graphic design, typography, all those things that we do in PI, that's what you need, and that's why we do it. And like Andy said, you can't be solely a event photographer these days. At least it's very hard to do it. You need to do a little bit of everything. It's just kind of the way that the market is. There are so many photographers. In order to break out into your certain area, you got to do a lot. So that's a great question.
Go right there. Henry asked one question real quick about the drone certification. And
yeah, so Henry.
I saw that Ryan Corliss just jumped on. How's it going, man?
Hey, Ryan. That's awesome. Henry, let's see. So Henry, best place to study for the test. I would recommend, I took an online course to kind of take all of the, there's a lot of weird questions that they'll ask you in the drone certification test that I think would be hard to gather from different places on the web. There are a lot of free study guides out there. I personally opted for an online class through a company called Dart Drones, D-A-R-T, like a dart you throw, Dart Drones. I think it was $250, but they had a bunch of online video tutorials that walked you through all of the stuff you needed to study for the test. I studied for about 8-10 hours, took the test the next day, and I got about a 90%. So it's not too bad. You basically just need to know things like weather patterns and how to read aeronautical charts, stuff like that. So it's pretty simple.
Ryan did ask a question. How much do we teach about taking and editing videos?
Ooh, I love it. Ryan, that's an awesome question. So in PI, video is kind of something that we do toward the end of the program. We want to make sure you guys have a super solid foundation in the photographic aspects of the program, and all of that stuff's kind of down, lighting, photography, all of that. So I think it's probably week, 20 or so, maybe 25, you'll start getting into video. And we've actually going to have 3 teachers for you doing video stuff. One of them is more of an audio technical video guy, so he's more of going to go into the very technical aspects of shooting video and capturing audio for that video. Another guy is a very big commercial videographer, and he does a fantastic job of more telling you about, those bigger production level shoots, doing bigger stuff with video. And then we actually have our in-house videographer, Michaela, who's going to do a class on more of the creative side of things. So we like to cover all of those bases. But video is a pretty big part of the program. I think a lot of people underestimate how important it is before they come. And I can't tell you how many graduates we've had who went through our old advanced intensive program, which was kind of our capstone, what we used to have. Now it's been kind of merged into PI. So many advanced intensive alums have told me, Forrest, I didn't think I was going to use video, and now it's most of what I'm doing. Like that's a super common thread out there in the world. And so we need to make sure you guys are ready for that. So long story short, Ryan, it's an important part. You'll get a lot of video education in the time frame. We're not a video school, so it's obviously primarily photography. But the cool thing is composition, light, all of that stuff, all the marketing and business stuff applies to either. So honestly, video is pretty simple once you know all the photographic concepts as a foundation.
Yep.
Pretty cool. You guys, if you have any other questions, just keep posting them. We'll keep talking with some things if the questions are, if there's none out there, but just post them as you get them. Let's see. Oh yeah, Sarah's pointing out one more thing that I want to address. One of the big things that photographers these days are hired on is their style. So something that you'll kind of see as you shoot more, and this is something that I think takes a number of months or years. It kind of happens in a different time frame in PI or in SI. We have a saying here that SI and PI time are a little different than normal time because everything goes by really fast and really slow at the same time. But as you shoot more, you're going to start to develop a style. And this becomes really evident. And this is actually a really good thing for you guys who are just starting or if you've been shooting for a long time to notice. If you go on the website of a well-established professional photographer, someone who's been shooting for 5, 10, 20 years, and they're very well known in their field, and you look at their website, the consistency image to image to image, even if they're completely different subject matter, meaning say it's adventure photography, sports photography, maybe some people photography mixed in there, even if they're incredibly different genres of photography, the style, the look of the image looks very similar. Maybe it's a warm tone, maybe it's editing, maybe it's the compositional elements that that photographer uses. Every photographer has a style. And these days in the world of photography, people are hired much more on their style than they are on what genre they say they shoot. For example, if you find a photographer that you really like, and maybe they are a commercial photographer, they do big production shoots, or maybe they're an adventure photographer, but you love their style, you might ask them to shoot a wedding for you or something like that, because you know that that style is what aligns with what you want for that. And that's huge, both developing that style and knowing what you need to build that style. And that's why we teach all genres, because within all those genres, you can shoot multiple genres and have all of your photos look very similar because you have a cool style. And that's awesome. That's why those big Instagrammers get Insta-famous, is because they have a style. They develop something that's different from the rest, and that's cool. Yeah.
And the fun part is trying to find it.
Yes.
Yes.
And that takes time, and that's what we help you with here. I mean, Marcy's one of our, what? Yeah, Marcy is one of our amazing kind of creative vision teachers.
Yep.
And the first week of the program, we have a class called Finding Your Vision. Like, it's week 1. We start off with that, and that is a theme that continues. She helps you craft your vision, find out what you're doing, learn how to edit consistently, learn how to go through your photos and cull out the bad ones. It's pretty darn amazing. So we've helped a lot of people find that style through the years.
One of the best things about her classes are when everyone pulls their photos up and it's blown up on the big screen TV for everyone else to see, because then you get critiqued. And being critiqued by your peers was one of the absolute best ways to learn, at least for myself, and it was great. You got another question?
Yeah, Henry's asking, have you guys done any photo shoots outside the United States? So Henry, we used to do a lot of photo workshops out of the US. We used to do like one international workshop a year or one international shoot a year. It became kind of difficult, especially after 9/11 with all the restrictions that are in place, and there's a lot of, it's way more confusing than it used to be, and way more permit-y and just more logistically challenging. It is something that Sarah and I both want to bring back, is doing international workshops, but I don't know that it's going to be in the near future. We got to get at least a couple seasons of PI under our belt before we start something like that.
What about traveling the world?
Traveling the world's sweet. I mean, that's, Henry, you're spot on with what you want to do. I think that's a dream that a lot of photographers have. Any tips for doing it? Really, like I just said, building a style, getting something consistent. Michaela is one of our videographers in-house, and she has had that same type of dream. She wants to, do adventure photography for big companies like North Face and places like that. Forrest Woodward, he has my first name, but he's way cooler than I am. He's amazing. He is living that life right now. He travels all over the world doing big commercial shoots, and he started with Summer Intensive. He started here. As far as tips, it's hard to give any sort of like legit tips. I'd say just keep shooting, keep developing that style, keep learning. Obviously the easiest way, I'm biased, but take Professional Intensive. I mean, that's probably the best thing you could do to get started in the field. We'll talk a lot about that. I mean, the jump start that you get through a program like PI is pretty crazy.
It's pretty cool. While you were talking, all of a sudden this thing blew up.
I know, it's like, yay, good things.
Hi, Stephen. We'll answer Anastasia's question first.
Actually, before you do, I need to address something. Henry, obviously that was a completely biased answer. I'm the director of the school. Of course I'm going to tell you to take PI, but that's my job.
PI.
Come to PI. We want to hang out with you.
All right.
Just going to get that out in the open.
Miss Wild, thank you. How can I prepare for Professional Intensive? Well, I mean, you've got the equipment list. I hope you've seen that on the website.
Yep, go over that.
Equipment list.
Housing.
Housing's
important.
I think she's here in town.
You're here in town.
She's here in town, so that makes that easy for you.
Yep. Equipment list is important. Make sure you go through that. In fact, if you live in town, if you have any questions on the equipment list, just come on in. Benson and I can meet with you. We can talk to you, kind of go through it if you have any questions on that. But equipment list, we're going to invite you to a thing called the student portal here pretty soon, which is where we'll be posting some more PI related information. It'll probably be end of this week or next week when you get an invitation to that. So staying up to date with that stuff, because we'll be introducing the different instructors and assistants and people who will be with you on the program. So staying up with that. Other than that, just keep shooting, keep having fun, keep that like photographic spirit alive in you as you shoot more. Because I think a lot of the people, they kind of wait to get really into it before the program starts. Don't wait. Like, you can get into it right now. Start shooting, start having fun. It's beautiful outside. Take pictures. But yeah, equipment list is the big thing. Make sure you have what you need on the day we start, and then we'll get you on the portal here pretty soon.
Think about what you want to do and who you want to be.
Oh yeah, Sarah's got a great one that's a lot smarter than what I just said.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's why she's over there.
Yeah.
Sarah said also spend some time thinking about maybe what type of business you want to start or who you want to be as a photographer, what you want to shoot, what you want to do.
But be completely open to the fact that
Yes.
may
Could completely
change
Yes.
while you're into the professional intensive.
Yep.
Like I said, I went from one and I went to another. Kind of going more into the prep for pro intensive. If you have a day, Anastasia, come by the school.
Yeah.
I'll even take you, and you could sit for 30 minutes to an hour in one of the classes that we got going on right now. The summer intensive is in full swing. The
Yep.
students just went past the halfway point. And sitting in some of their classes
It's fun.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like these two have seen me do it, and it's not always exactly work for me, but I've gone down and I'll sit in the classes. It's for a way for me to get to know the students, and I can't wait to get to know the students. Like Ryan is on here watching, you are on here watching. I can't wait to meet all of you.
Yes.
I mean, excuse me, we did meet once, but the other
ones we
people
haven't.
that are viewing and tuning in, but.
Two on that, like any of you guys watching, if you guys want to see what RMSP is about, come here. Like, I know a lot of you live across the country. I look at us kind of as a college. I think we're not accredited, but I think there's some advantages to that for sure. We can kind of do what we want and make the program be what it needs to be. But if you are curious about RMSP, come to Missoula. Andy will give you a tour. I will meet you. We will walk you downstairs and show you around the classrooms. It's awesome. And like he said, SI is halfway through. This is the best time you could come because you can meet the students, you can hear what they have to say. Obviously, they're not having the PI experience. They're having much more of an enthusiast, fun, hobbyist photographer experience. But they still know our teachers. They're still having it. They're still living it. They can still talk about the intensity for sure because it's summer intensive still. But yes, that's a great question.
Steven, what age did you start to get into photography?
You
he
go
is
first.
much earlier than I am.
You go first.
Because his dad, mom started the school. I think I was just before I turned 18. It was right around 18, 19 years old that I had I don't even know what it was, but the first camera phone, the silver flip phone. I had one of the first camera phones. No,
one of those
it wasn't
razors?
a razor.
I was
can't
one
remember.
of those like.
No, and then I had the Nokia brick phone, which I think that had a camera.
Did you have an LG Envy? I loved that phone. Little flip-up keyboard.
Yes,
Dude,
I did have that. Yeah,
so good.
So anyway, I started when I was about 18 years old, and a little on my backstory. If you didn't hear it earlier, Stephen, when I was 18, I actually remember saying to my mother, "Mom, I want to go to Rocky Mountain School of Photography." The first thing she said, "No, honey. Give up that dream. I want you to go to college because I'm going to pay for it." Well, what did I had to do something, and I kind of fought with her on it, and I wanted to go, and here I am 15 years later. I work for the school, and I get to do my own photography on the side. I mean, it's fun.
It's kind of crazy you ended up here. In the end. Like, you went away, you did crazy other things, and now you're back.
For a long time, too, so.
But you all, I mean, he brings up a great point, and I'll talk about when I started in a second.
Yeah.
He brings up a great point. A lot of you out there are leaving high school and your parents have an influence on what you do. I think that a lot of people out there, especially who are parents, are obviously worried about what's best for their kids. That's their primary concern, and that's completely well-founded. It is hard to make a career as a photographer. It's on the homepage of Professional Intensive. It says making a career in photography is hard. But people, if you love it, if you want to make it happen, I really think we're the best way to do that. We are here, we're supportive, we're going to help you every step of the way. And you should follow your dreams. You should do what you want to do. I got a degree in something that I am never going to use, but I'm so glad I got it. It was my dream to get a college degree in astrophysics. Like, that was my thing. I liked that. I knew I was going to do this, but I followed my dreams for a while. I said, you know what? I'm going to go do college. I'm going to go do it. If your dream is to come to the school and become a professional photographer, live that dream. There's no one stopping you. We're going to help you every step of the way, and that's what we're here for.
Yep.
About me, I started shooting when I was 7. I was tiny. My dad, My parents gave me a camera. They never pushed me into it, which was awesome. I kind of was just around it as a kid. My parents, I remember, I grew up here. We're in one of our classrooms right now, and I grew up in this building. And so that's all my childhood memories. And when I was 7, I got a DSLR and learned f-stops and shutter speeds, and my dad taught me kind of everything that I knew. The what?
SLR.
Yeah, an SLR.
Oh, an SLR,
It wasn't
yeah.
a DSLR. It was film back in those days.
Yep.
Have it. But yeah, way back in the day.
Allison Cassidy.
Difference between summer intensive and pro intensive.
You probably should read that out loud to everyone else.
Yeah.
What is the difference between summer intensive and pro intensive? And do you have longer school days in the summer, or is there just less material to learn for the summer? Do you want me to take this one?
Dude, you can take it or I can take it.
We'll both take it.
Okay.
All right. The difference. What has happened in the past is that summer intensive, the professional studies, and the advanced intensive in years,
That was
for
the
many
old way
years,
we
those
did
were the
things.
old ways that they did everything. What happened is that we would have a big mix of students that, let's say half and half. Half of them wanted to be professional photographers, and half of them only wanted to be there to learn how to take phenomenal photos and learn how to edit them really well.
They weren't business oriented.
Exactly.
They were just
weren't
there
business-oriented.
They were there to have a fun experience.
Yep,
They were there for 11
exactly.
weeks of like, let's learn about photography.
So to answer that quickly, which we can definitely go more into, and I'm sure we will, Summer Intensive is now the 6-week program for the hobbyists and the enthusiasts who want to learn how to take phenomenal photos, edit their photos, learn a lot about light, flash, Lightroom, things like that. Professional Intensive, it's much longer because we are going to teach you everything about it, and you're going to live, eat, breathe, and sleep photography. I got a little excited there.
Sleeping
You're
photography is
going to
hard.
sleep and dream it. Sleep photography. I mean, it's jam-packed.
Yeah.
And to answer your second part of the question, the days are actually about the exact same in length.
They are, yeah.
Go ahead.
We
You go ahead.
this is a little bit different. So the intensity level is a little bit less on PI, simply because we want you guys to go shoot. There's a little bit more. And what I mean by slightly less intense, we break our days up into sessions. So we look at that every day has 3 possible sessions. There's a session from 9 to 1, there's another one from 2 to 6, and there's another one from 7 to 9. So there's starting in the morning, going to the evening, essentially 9 to 9. There's 12 hours in there, and there's 3 sessions allowing for a lunch and a dinner break. In that 3 sessions, we will give you maybe 1 or 2 less sessions per week during PI than we do in SI, just to give you time to develop your portfolio. Going back to what we talked about with style, in order to have a style and to build a style, you need to shoot. And a lot of PI, a lot of your assignments are gonna be go shoot something, get outside. If you wanna be a portrait photographer, go find someone to take portraits of. If you're gonna do commercial jobs, go find a business in Missoula to shoot product for them, or shoot an advertising campaign for them, or shoot something like that. That's where the learning happens. Is we give you the lecture, we lecture to you on how to do it, but you need to go actually out there and do it. And so PI is very much built around giving you that time to build a portfolio and do things like that. Is it still intense? Yes. Can you work a part-time job? Probably not. Like, it is a very jam-packed time. 36 weeks was hard to fit it in there. But getting to what Ben said, the difference between SI and PI, there's no business, there's no any of that there's really none of that stuff in summer intensive. It's very much the enthusiast level stuff. In fact, you could say that the first 6 weeks of professional intensive are really what's covered in summer intensive. It's part of that program. It's stretched out a little bit in PI. There's some business stuff in the first week of PI, so it's not really 6 weeks to 6 weeks, because we throw a lot more at you during PI in those first weeks. But everything's in that program, plus a heck of a lot more. So that's kind of the way I'd break it up. It's a great question, though. It's one of the most common ones we get.
It is. One more thing that I'm going to pull from the very kind of the middle of what Forrest was just talking about, and it's actually one of the questions that I get asked day in and day out for any of the students that are coming to professional intensive. Can you have a job while there?
Yes.
My immediate response is it is ill-advised, but that's where I immediately turn around and say, hey, everyone's different. There are people that can function on 3-4 hours of sleep day in, day out. There are people that need a lot more like me sometimes. Anyway, what I mean is that it's ill-advised, but it's doable. You can get a weekend job, you can get a night job, you can get an early morning coffee job. It's definitely doable. But, and I even have it written down right now, this is something that I say to everyone else, put the most, whatever you put into the program, you're gonna get out of it. So the more you put in, the more you're gonna get out of it. The less you put in, trust me, you're not gonna get much out of it. So the more time you can dedicate solely to professional intensive, the more information and knowledge and stuff you're gonna fill your brain with, and you're gonna be happier, I promise. I guarantee that.
Going along with that, like the time that you have during PI, I think a lot of people look at it and they say, you know what, it's a lot of money. It's $28,000. It costs a lot. So I need to work a job, or I need to do something to make that happen. In my opinion, I think it's actually probably cheaper for you not to work a job because of the portfolio building experiences you'll have if you take that time that you would otherwise be working during PI and you apply it to going on shoots and going out there and putting your name out there, even from a distance, building a website and a social media presence in your area that you're going to be moving back to when you're done with PI. Taking the time after class to do that versus work a part-time job, I think that will pay for itself. That investment in skipping the job but putting the time into your future is going to pay for itself way more than what would a job would give you through that time. So I really think that's the way to do it. Now, since the money part came up, I do want to address this real quick.
And Allison, I do see your next question.
We'll get to it, I promise.
Next. Yep.
I'm on a roll, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With the money thing, a lot of people express, there's concern. It's expensive. $28,000 is a lot of money, and I'm going to be the first one to say that. It's a lot of money. A couple things on that. When we priced it, we did keep the pricing consistent with what our old career training program was, week to week to week. So we figured out how much we were charging per hour of education, and we broke that up over PI and figured out what 36 weeks of that would be, and that's where we landed on that price. Mm-hmm. The other thing we cared a lot about is making it competitive with what it would cost to go to college. So the thing is, I look at PI as a great replacement or a great kind of thing to do instead of going to a 4-year college program.
Kind of like a trade school.
Kind of like a trade school. It gets done quicker, so you're able to launch into your career sooner, which I think is a huge advantage. But let's forget about the saved 3 years of your life for a minute, because you got to think about too, if you're going to college for 4 years, that's 3 more years of living expenses, 3 more years of food. It's 3 more years of all of that stuff through your education. But forget about that. We looked at a lot of the average in-state college tuition out there in the world, what it looks for an in-state college, and we looked at it for 4 years. PI is very comparable to what you would pay for a 4-year college degree at an in-state school. At an out-of-state school, PI is a darn bargain compared to what you could pay for some schools out there in the world. And that was a huge thing that was important for us, because when parents are evaluating our school, they're going to be, like it costs a lot. Now, we're not accredited, and that's a dream that we have eventually, is to get there, but that makes getting loan options through the government impossible. You can't do that. So that is a huge down. It's a bummer for a lot of people, but we do have Sallie Mae, we do have some loan options for people. That's kind of where the pricing came from. It was keeping it comparable with what we've had, and also being sure to keep it on the same level as what you could expect for an in-state college tuition. All right. But again, like I said, you're saving on living expenses, you're saving on food, and you can get started on your career sooner. Yep. It's cool.
And I think that's the appealing part to some, is that the career can be started a lot quicker than if you were to go to a 4-year college just for photography.
Yes.
Now let's get to Allison's question.
Yes.
Is there still video and editing involved in summer intensive? Did you have something, Sarah?
Sarah flopped her sign. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sarah made a great point. She's so good. She needs to just be here. That would be really helpful.
She's running all the technical stuff, guys.
Someone's got to do it.
You know she's here now, so.
She's making it so that you can see us and hear us.
Yeah.
Sarah made the point of that we don't have general education stuff in PI, which I think is huge, right? Yep. When you're going through college, they make you take classes you don't want to take. I happen to know that a lot of people who take our programs don't like math. I love math. I think it's awesome. He doesn't like math. Math is weird, right? It's not great. You don't have to take math during PI. You don't have to waste your, it hurts me saying this. I don't think math is a waste of time. But if you do think math is a waste of time, you don't have to waste your time learning math when you come through PI. The most mathematic we're going to get is like fractions in your shutter speeds, so like 1/1000th of a second.
Those
Hyperfocal focusing.
Those didn't hurt my brain. That stuff's easy. But the math classes I had to take in college, or
It killed me
the
to say
nutrition
that.
classes that I had to take in college. I mean, nutrition, read about it on the internet. You know, there's different ways to learn. But anyway,
Other people have been, our chat has gone slightly
Yeah,
into
did
the
you-
politics realm. I'm going to skip over those questions.
yeah, is there still video editing?
Oh, yeah, let's get to that.
Is there still video and editing involved in summer intensive? Boom.
Boom.
It's more his realm.
Editing, yes. In SI, we still talk about editing your photos in Lightroom. We did pull the Photoshop element out of summer intensive. And the reason being is with SI, and a lot of people have been asking us, like, why'd you make these changes? Well, they weren't like random on a whim, let's just axe this and axe that. We talked to a lot of alumni and looked at evaluations and saw what people said. The vast majority of summer intensive students who've gone through in the past said, why did we learn Photoshop? I don't use it. There's no reason for it. Do you use Photoshop very often?
Maybe once or twice a month.
Yeah,
and I
rare.
open up Lightroom daily.
Yeah, it's rare. So we cut that out because I think it's not an important thing, again, for an enthusiast, hobbyist photographer. In PI, I think there are 16 4-hour-long Photoshop classes or 3-hour-long Photoshop classes. So it's a huge part of professional intensive because to be a pro, you need to do it. Now, video. Video was never a part of summer intensive. It was a part of advanced intensive back in the day. Back in the day was last year, but in the ye olden days. It was never a part of SI, but it's still not a part of SI. It is definitely a part of professional intensive though. So that hopefully answers your question.
Henry's got a good question.
Yes.
How often you go outside in the professional intensive program? Again, you.
Quite often.
Yeah.
We like to, again, like I said earlier in the stream, a lot of photography is doing, and we really believe in the experiential aspect of it.
Hands-on.
Meaning, yeah, you don't just sit there and like blah, 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 listen to a teacher blah at you for a long time. Every class, for the most part, and some classes don't need this, but most every class, whether it's an editing class or a photo studies class or something like that, a class where you learn technique, is accompanied by what we call a lab or a field help session, which is where you are in a lab. Those accompany our edit classes where you're learning how to edit or do graphic design or things like that. Those are in the computer lab with people, with the instructors and assistants. But getting to what you're saying, a field help is where you go out in the field right after the class or a day after the class, the lecture portion, and you learn with the instructor and the assistant, and you do what you just learned in that class. So they're there to meet with you, to walk you through the controls. Even with that said, in a 4-hour block or a 3-hour class block, a lot of times you're going outside during class. So there's that kind of experiential hands-on part there, as well as the field help session afterward to kind of do your assignments and make sure that you fully understand everything. So that's a great question.
I like Henry's next question. Have you ever went camping and done photo shoots in the wilderness? I want to start with this one because it just happened. We just did it. Forrest,
That was like
myself,
5 days ago.
Yeah, it was like 5 days ago. Myself, Forrest, his wife Sarah, my girlfriend, and our friend James. The 5 of us hiked into the wilderness right outside of Missoula. We hiked about 4.5, 5 miles in, found a camping spot that he knew about, and I mean, it was a little bit of following each other around with cameras. I have shots of these two taking shots of each other. I mean, we had all 5 of us had cameras. And you know, it's the only problem is that you got to hike with more gear, but it's so worth it right at the end, because then what did we all do before we went to bed? We set up tripods, we aimed our cameras at the sky, and we got phenomenal star shots and lit up the tents at night with lights on the inside of the tents. I mean, it was phenomenal.
It was fun.
You have so much fun. And things like that, when 5 photographers get together, every single time it reignites a little bit more passion to do more photography, and it was a lot of fun.
And we were all like super educated about it. Like we were all just doing our own thing. Like there was no like, it was like, oh yeah, sweet, I know how to do that. It's awesome. So J3 is asking, he did an older style of photography and wants to kind of change or rebrand himself. And I think what I would say is new website, new social media presence, rebrand yourself, become a new photographer. A lot of photographers change path partway through and they need to rebuild. And it just takes a complete 90-degree turn. You need to fully commit to what you want to do moving forward. If you want to be an adventure photographer for a few years and then you decide you want to be a wedding photographer, it's hard to maintain both as your primary means of making money. I can't contradict myself earlier where I said you need to be a jack of all trades, because you do, but there's always going to be that one genre that's primarily your thing, right? You're going to get asked to do a lot, but there's going to be your primary thing. With your primary path, your primary thing in photography, you want to, if you want to switch that, you really need to just go all in. Switch 100%, go 90, make a 90-degree turn and just do it. New website, all of that stuff. It's doable though. You can totally do it.
All right. We had a couple questions in here. I saw a couple about Instagram handles, things like that. We'll get to that in a second. Going back up to J3 Entertainment Fan.
I just answered that one.
Oh, that's the one you just answered? Okay.
Henry has a question. Will there be much of the hands-on learning? Yes, all the stuff I talked about with hands-on was for professional intensive. That's what we were talking about. So all of the labs and the field helps and the hands-on learning in classroom, that's all part of PI. We care, you all, here's the deal, right? Online education is a super big thing. I learn a lot on YouTube. I'm gonna be straight up and honest about it because I get that question all the time. And I'm sure there's people watching this stream thinking in their minds, why the heck would I go to PI when I could learn it all on YouTube? The answer is hands-on. The answer is being there with an instructor to ask questions. The other answer is we take the best instructors in the business, the people who are in it, shooting every day, making a living as a photographer, and we put them in front of you. So the connections you make, the things you learn, the hands-on aspects, there's so many benefits to that.
Yes.
On top of that, when you're looking at learning online, there's very little curriculum design out there. There's very little people who have actually put together a very designed curriculum to take you from square one to being a professional. And that's what we've done. That's why we brought in professionals and people from all across the industry to help make this the best program it could be. A lot of that is curriculum design. What do you teach first? When you're out there learning on your own and you're on YouTube and you learn what an f-stop is, what's the next step? What's the next thing you need to learn about? We tell you that, and that's why online's hard. You know, it's just staring me in the face. I had to talk.
9 out of 10 photographers, and I'm one of them, someone can show me, but they can't just do it and then hand me the camera. I have to be able to hold it. I need someone to point out what buttons to press, and it's just my learning style.
Yep.
I like to learn hands-on. I like to learn in every aspect of that.
And again, like I have nothing against online schools. I think there's a place for both in the industry. Flern is a fantastic school. I've talked to them before. I've emailed back and forth with them. I think they're amazing, but it's a different type of person. The person who wants to learn online is different than the person who wants to learn in person. And the other thing is we can, and Sarah's again pointing that out, that's why I'm staring over there, we can also individualize our education. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'll help anyone who wants to learn drone photography who takes PI. You can't find that online. I mean, it's customized instruction. We've built this program to be fit for everyone, and our instructors and assistants will give you the attention you need, which is cool.
And especially drone photography, you have to be careful where you fly it or you get fined without that certification. So
don't do that. Let's see, what's your guys' Insta handles? Allison's asking. I never update Instagram. Don't listen to me. Don't look at mine. I think it's Forrest Chaput, but I never post.
I do. For those of you that want it, I can type it in there if it makes it easier. Actually, I probably should. I can say it's at Ben's Photo.
Just type it in. Yeah, type it in.
BENSE.
And Sarah is the one to follow. Sarah, what's yours?
J. Chaput.
Yeah, Sarah's is Sarah J. Chaput, so Sarah with an H. And Ben's is typing it in.
SARAHJCHAPUT.
There we go.
And for those of you that don't follow us, follow our Rocky Mountain School of Photography page, which is Rocky Mountain School of Photo.
Yes.
It's going to take a little bit to type.
Whoa. At this angle, yes.
So this one, the Rocky Mountain School of Photo one is all photos by our alums and instructors and people like that. So if you're looking to kind of see what work you can produce or what work our instructors produce and our students produce, it's a great place to see that.
Absolutely.
How many students, multiple classes, or do PI students spend all day, every day together? Okay, that's a great question. Do you want to take that one or you want me to?
Which one?
The one rendered Allison.
How many students are in the class, and are there multiple classes, or do PI students spend all day, every day together? I guess I could take that one.
Okay.
I mean, it's not all day, every day together. You're going to be split into smaller groups for a little bit more hands-on in some of them. What do we have right now for the amount of students?
It depends. A lot of it depends on what we're doing. So about the group size, if we have a student body in PI of maybe 30 students or 25 students, which is about what we're expecting, we will break you guys into 2 groups. So there'll be an A group and a B group. And we do the same thing with our summer intensive students downstairs. There's 50 of them. We break them up into 4 groups because there's more people. But as far as the class size, it depends on what's happening. So in an environment where it's very much lecture and people taking notes, something like, say, learning about copyright, something very boring where you're in a big lecture room, that's going to be the whole student body together, because individualized hands-on attention in a copyright presentation about how not to get your images stolen is not going to be super important, right? You're not going to be actually doing anything. You're just going to be taking notes and learning. Whereas if we look at like lighting classes where you're actually in the field learning how to light with pro photo lights and how to overpower the sun and take all these amazing images, that's going to be your little group of 12 or 13 people, because their hands-on attention is super important, and we need to have you guys in a small group so we can really give you personalized attention. So it totally depends on that. And we've kind of done I hope done a great job from people who've left evaluations in the past at knowing what needs individualized attention and what can be the big group stuff.
Yep,
That's an
exactly.
awesome question though.
What is the most famous photographer or cinematographer that you both have worked with? Ooh, you probably have a bigger list than I do.
Famous photographers, we've worked with a lot of them in the past. A lot of famous teachers now actually taught for RMSP back in the day, which is pretty cool. Julianne Cost, who's a really, she's super cool. She had some time with us back in the day. As far as famous people, we don't really go after famous people in that sense, because a lot of and I'm sorry if you're famous out there and you're watching this, this is not anything against you. A lot of the most famous photographers are not necessarily the best teachers and instructors, and therefore we don't really seek them out to teach for us, because we want people who can really convey information in a really understandable way. And also a lot of the most famous people are not willing to share their secret or share everything with the students. So we look for very successful photographers who aren't necessarily the most famous to be our instructors, because they are willing to share what made them successful, and they're also great instructors. And that's kind of our key thing when we're picking out people out.
Where are we at?
Let's see.
And Henry, to answer your question about anybody famous on my end, I've learned from a couple people. Lindsay Adler is a really big name over in
Lindsay Adler's cool.
Lindsay Adler over in New York.
Oh yeah, we actually, our PI instructors, I guess those would be our people.
Yeah.
Michael Clark is super cool. He's going to do the adventure photography section in PI. He's going to have you guys for a week. Inti St. Clair is one of our actual alums from what year was it? 2000,
yeah.
Who is going to do the portrait week in professional intensive.
David Talley, who's going to be doing
David Talley.
conceptual. I'm super excited about him because that's stuff I really like to do.
I don't know why I didn't think of any.
No offense against you, Ryan. I know your wildlife and your scenes are amazing when I follow you on Instagram, but I can't do it. So I'm going to do the conceptual stuff on the other end. So,
so we got them. We have Mike Kelly, right? He's doing architecture photography. He's pretty cool. We got a really cool lineup.
Yes, we do.
A lot of the PI stuff. We're still searching for a wedding person at this point, getting them nailed down. But yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. And you all, that gets into kind of the design of PI. For those of you who don't know, PI slowly gets more and more specific to a genre as it goes. So we start off very broad, and we kind of teach you about all genres equally, because I think that's a great way to get a foundation and feel comfortable in whatever genre you want to go into. And then we slowly narrow it down, and by the end, you're really starting to think, hey, what's going to be my primary genre that I want to do more with? And that's where we bring in working professionals, those people that I talked about, the very well-known, successful photographers. Not the most famous ones, but the very well-known, successful ones who can teach and who are willing to share what they know with our students. We bring them in to give you guys everything we can.
Got a couple more in here.
Chris Burkhardt may come to PI. Actually, the opportunity to meet him here. Depends on the schedule of the school. Yeah, Chris Burkhardt, we talked to him. He was in Glacier last year, about a year ago. Sarah went up and met him. He's a cool guy. He's really awesome. We may have him come do something, but it's kind of just going to have to be a random thing. He's a very awesome photographer, cool guy. Michaela, our videographer, is super.
She idolizes him.
She idolizes him. That's the right word.
He's a great. I love the way he takes a scene and it's just the massive amount of the scene with a small person in almost every single one of his photos. I mean, it's awesome.
If we can swing it, yes, but I can't make that guarantee. No way.
Rick Roll, thank you for the compliment. I really enjoy this channel. That's awesome. You offer any help with incoming students looking for housing during PI? Yes, absolutely. Over the course of, 28, 29, 30 years, kind of that entire time, we've never had a student go homeless. The biggest thing about the RMSP alumni, the friends of the school from around town, there's so many of them. So many students coming in. Before I was actually an employee here, I can't do it anymore, but I actually rented out rooms in my house, room shares, Craigslist. There are so many people that know students come from around the country and the world to come to this program or come to our photography programs. They rent their rooms, do room shares. They rent a studio apartment they have above their garage. They leave for an entire summer or an entire year. We actually have a friend of the school who used to teach for us when he was a kid, going to Europe for an entire year, called us instead of the University of Montana, said, hey, I'm renting my entire house out. I've got 4 bedrooms.
What you got?
Yeah, what you got.
Yep.
And we put it, as soon as you kind of start getting more interested in the program, we have a closed professional intensive Facebook page where we post different ads on apartments, on rentals, things like that. Yes, we definitely help out as much as possible. Now, that is not to say we are not property managers in finding them for you.
We can't get into that.
You still have to do it as much as you can on your end, but we will help out as much as possible to make sure, you don't go homeless. Yeah. We have had people that choose to go homeless. They choose it based off the fact that they will, summer intensive, they'll go camp instead of going.
We had a student named Waffle.
Huh?
Like 15 years ago.
Seriously?
Yep, his name was
awesome.
Waffle, and he was homeless for the whole summer. He's an awesome guy. One thing I want to say on that, Andy mentioned at the very beginning, we have never once had a student not come to the program because they couldn't find housing. It just has not happened in the history of the school. So it should be a concern for sure, because it's important to get it done early, but it shouldn't be something that you're like nervous about because you think it won't happen. Housing happens. It's just, you have to plan it out ahead of time, make sure you're on it, make sure you're looking at those ads. But no one's never not been able to come. So it's a good thing.
So
toward the end,
Lila.
That's a great question. So the question is, toward the end of the program, do students select genres to focus on, or are all covered equally? So at the very end, like the last, we call it the phase 3 of the program, you will choose a genre or two that you want to focus on. So kind of the way we do it is we pair up genres for different weeks. So for example, 1 week we might run adventure photography and wedding photography side by side. So we bring in 2 instructors, one to teach wedding and one to teach adventure. And students pick between the wedding track or the adventure track. And that is that week you spend with a working professional wedding or adventure photographer. They make 90 to 100% of their living off of wedding photography. And we bring in people who are going to share their secrets. They're going to share how they became successful. They're going to do one-on-one mentoring with you. They're going to critique your images. They're going to go on shoots with you. They're going to teach you things. That is where you finally are specializing and saying, hey, I am going to focus more on wedding photography than I am on adventure photography, or the other way around. Now again, you still have maybe 28 weeks of foundation in all genres. So this is just the final phase where you're being very specific and you're starting to actually build everything out, develop that portfolio so that when you graduate, you're ready to hit the ground running. And that's kind of the goal.
Exactly.
Great question.
Charles Rodriguez. Bye, Henry. We did see that. You're probably all gone by now, but
thanks, man.
One thing as we wrap up, we got 2 minutes left.
Yep.
Anybody has any more questions? You didn't get to see this. You didn't get to comment. You couldn't think of anything right away. If it's late at night and you have a question and it's burning, send me an email, andrewb@rmsp.org. rmsp.com. I'm going to write it in here.
Or leave it in the comment
Yeah.
section down below. I'll be monitoring comments. He'll monitor his emails.
Yep.
We did have one more question. Is there attention given to fashion photography?
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of attention
A lot.
given to fashion
Yep.
photography. A whole lot, like a week. That's one of our main genres people can pick from. Lindsay Adler's doing that, yeah. So if you want to check out Lindsay Adler,
Yeah.
she is amazing. She's been teaching for the school for probably since she got famous.
Yeah.
The what?
2010,
2010
Check
or
out her
11.
Instagram, and I don't know what the handle is right now, but it is
Probably Lindsay
phenomenal.
Adler.
She is a master of lighting. It's wonderful. Studio photography that I hope to know how to do someday. So
yes, fashion is a main, one of the main genres that we teach in the program for sure, 100%. Another person to check out for fashion is Wes Croninger. He's
Yes.
going to spend
Yes.
a week with you guys kind of in phase 2 where you're starting to specialize a little bit, but you don't have to like make a choice between two things. He's amazing as well. He does a great job. He's super cool. He's one of our core teachers.
seeing you guys all say thank you. I'm saying thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you guys
Yes,
all for tuning in.
thank you.
If you have questions, send us some more inquiries. But we appreciate you guys listening and sticking around for most of the time.
I love it.
Allison, thank you. Lila. Oh God, so many people that are saying thank you.
Henry,
but
thank you.
yeah.
Everyone, thank you
Yes,
guys.
it's been great. So.
We really appreciate it. Like Andy said, if you guys have any questions moving forward, send him an email, reach out to us on Instagram, reach out to us on our website. You can leave a comment
Facebook.
below. If you're not watching this live, the comment section down below, leave it down there. If you guys liked this and you want to learn more from us, you're on YouTube right now. There's a subscribe button right down below. I would love it if you hit that subscribe button. We just hit 1,000 subscribers and I'm like super excited about it. But subscribe because we've got some cool content coming out. We don't post mostly marketing, we post mostly educational content on our YouTube channel. But yeah, thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, reach out in the future. And yeah, thanks for watching. We appreciate it.
Have a good night, everyone.
See ya.